founders of this republic weren't just saying, oh, we don't like King George. They were rejecting the divine right of kings. The divine right of kings. Take that. I know we don't teach history in America anymore, but some of you may have been old enough to have been taught history. The term divine right of kings means that God made you the king. And so if you reject the king, they were told, they were rejecting God. Now luckily they had Ben Franklin with them, and he had worked a lot with lightning, so they knew how to divert it. But there were people who feared that they would be struck down for rejecting King George. This was an incredibly bold and dangerous initiative to reject monarchy. And they tried to establish a system in this republic that would never be monarchical again. Understand that. That was what this experiment was about. To never again have one man able to send his people, his subjects, into war without the permission of the people and their elected representatives. Never to have a king who could spy on the people without legal oversight, without respect for the rule of law. Never have a king who would allow the torture and the detention of his people without the oversight of the courts and the rule of law. Never to have a king who would, by royal order, vitiate, throw out the laws passed by the Parliament, adding a signing statement to them. Never again would the people of this place bow down to a king. That was the purpose of the founding of this republic. And in the past 8 years, everything that they believed in was trashed, torn apart, destroyed, and spit upon by a group of rank criminals who came to office illegally and who never stopped governing illegally. The Constitution of the United States says you cannot go to war without a declaration by the Congress of the United States. Both houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate, must declare war. The war in Iraq was not declared. It is an illegal and immoral war. And I have to say to Mr. Obama, the same goes for the war in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is how we in the 21st century spell Vietnam. Anybody who doesn't understand that will soon enough. The Afghan people have never, ever been defeated. They beat Genghis Khan. They beat the British. They beat the Soviet Union, not because they're noble, but because they know those damn mountains pretty well. And because they know how to wait and inflict terrible pain on those who would occupy that country. We have to fight terrorism. No doubt about that. I'm not in some fantasy world that doesn't believe we have terrorist threats to this republic and we have to be serious about it. But a massive U.S. force occupying Afghanistan will not end terrorism, and it will ultimately do tremendous harm to Barack Obama's ability to govern both domestically and to be a leader internationally. Be very afraid of Afghanistan. The Afghan war is not declared. Now, the Constitution of the United States also says that you cannot spy on people. That you cannot spy on anyone without full legal control on it. The Fourth Amendment of the Constitution says Congress can't even pass a law that says you can spy on people. Congress is very strict about that. You know, the Constitution has great parameters on this, and yet for the past 8 years, every time, and I'm not the person saying this to you, U.S. Senator Russ Feingold, the chair of the Constitution Subcommittee of the U.S. Senate, will take out his cell phone, and he will say to you that every call you make on your cell phone will be monitored. It will be listened to. And if you have internet on your cell phone and you send an email, it will be monitored. There is no communication electronically that you engage in today that is not monitored by the U.S. government, and yet there is no legal authorization for that monitoring. For the past 8 years, you have been spied on in direct contravention of the Constitution of the United States. For the past 8 years, the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution has been violated. The Eighth Amendment to the Constitution says that those who are in the custody of the United States cannot be tortured. Now, it says cruel and unusual punishment. Call me crazy, but I think torture is pretty cruel. My daughter, who's right over there, my daughter thinks that if I say to her, hey, don't scream too loud in here, that I have inflicted cruel and unusual punishment upon her. Trust me, what they're doing in Guantanamo and what they are doing in the extraordinary rendition centers where we take prisoners out of U.S. custody and drop them off to be tortured by somebody else, and then after they've been tortured, go and pick them up. That is exactly what the founders of this republic were talking about when they wrote the Eighth Amendment to the Constitution. For the past 8 years, we have been in violation of the Eighth Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. And most seriously of all, when we fought that revolution in 1776, we fought a revolution. We fought a revolution against the royal edict. We fought a revolution against the notion that a king could tell us what the law was because it was his whim that day. George Bush has attached more than 800 whims to laws passed by the Congress of the United States. More than 800 times. The Congress of the United States has passed a law, and George Bush has said, as Charles I, and Charles II, and George I, and George II, and George III did, I will not obey this law because I am above the law. For the past 8 years, we have had monarchical governance. And so is there any doubt that I say, even now, in December of 2008, just weeks before the transference of power, that were it under my authority, I would call the Congress of the United States into session, not merely to pass that bailout for the auto workers, but to impeach George Bush and Dick Cheney. They should be impeached. And I have, over the last several years, as I've traveled this country talking about impeachment, the question I always get is, but isn't it take so long? Isn't it so hard? It's so complicated. The founders didn't intend impeachment to be complicated. They thought it should be quick and easy, like a surgery. You remove something unpleasant. You remove a stain on the office. There's more than enough time to impeach Dick Cheney and George Bush. And let me give you one other tasty little fact. My favorite. What's that, my dear?
Why hasn't it happened?
Well, we had some cautious Democrats. Not Palm Beach Democrats, I know. They were cautious Democrats. But let me tell you, I don't point fingers of blame. I just light my torch and head for them. But here's the interesting thing. The Constitution of the United States is such a generous document, so filled with interesting nuances. My favorite one. The power to impeach, which is mentioned 6 times in the Constitution. Interesting thing, corporations are not mentioned in the Constitution. Neither is any official religion. Neither are primaries or caucuses or conventions or any of the structures that we think of when we talk about electing a president of the United States. But the Constitution mentions impeachment 6 separate times. They were telling us something. And the interesting thing on impeachment is that you may be impeached while you are serving in office, or while you are enjoying any of the benefits of office. Now, I know many of you are saying, how do you connect these things here? Well, it's an interesting thing because we're all very excited about those auto workers and we want to take away all of their generous benefits. One of which is a pension.